this video, I'm going to talk about collages. You'll learn about different types of collages and find out what you'll need to make your own collage. You'll learn where to start, how to find images, how to lay out the images and glue them down, and how to add the finishing touches. There are probably as many types of collages as there are people making them. I'm going to tell you about the collages I make. My favorite type of collage is Key Collage, which probably doesn't surprise you. I started collaging as an alternative to writing my feelings in a journal. With collaging, I learned how to safely express my thoughts and feelings with images. Then I asked my collage to give me a key that I can use to safely move out of despair toward peace. Now I use my Key Collage card deck to help other people find answers to a question or show them a sometimes surprising new direction they can take. You can go to my website, keycollage.com, to learn more about my card readings. But I also make other kinds of collages. In Key Collage, I don't put words on the cards because the meaning of the images can change over time, but if I put a word on the collage, that word is probably the only thing that will come to me when I read the card later. However, sometimes it helps me to include words because I want to be clear how I'm feeling right now. It's more like a snapshot of a specific feeling. Another fun type of collage is to make all the images together form another picture. This collage is a self-portrait of how I feel when I wear pink. The edges of a collage can add to the effect you're trying to achieve. For this collage, I was describing how I felt when I was in a black mood, how I got into the black mood, and then how I moved back out of the black mood. I wanted the edges to show the agitation I feel when I'm in that dark place. So the outline is jagged, and the images in the background have torn edges instead of smooth cut edges. Sometimes I make collages with moving parts. In this collage, there's a gate that opens and invites me in. You can make a collage that combines magazine pictures with your own art. This is an example of a magazine ad with the edges of the picture intentionally cut with sloppy edges. So when I say later to cut neatly along the edge of the image, you don't have to do that if this is the look you're going for. The supplies you need for making a collage are pretty simple, although there are tools you can add to make collaging easier. First, you need images. Magazines are the simplest way to get images. If you don't have any magazines, see if your friends or coworkers have some they can give you. If you decide to buy some, look for magazines that have pictures that light you up in some way. Also, images from magazines with slightly thicker paper are easier to glue neatly. The next thing you need is something to glue the images onto. I use either thick paper like watercolor or multimedia paper, or mat board cut into the size I want. My Key Collage cards are all glued onto 5" by 7" mat board. You can get mat board of different colors, but I glue the images on the white side of the board so the color doesn't leak through in an unexpected way. I usually use scissors, but some collages look better if the pictures have ragged edges like the one I showed you of a black mood. You can just tear out the images if that's the look you want. You need some kind of adhesive to glue down your pictures. Rubber cement doesn't set right away, so you can move your pictures around for a bit if you decide to. You can also use glue sticks, glue dots, or roll-on adhesive that goes on like whiteout. I stay away from liquid glue like Elmer's glue because it tends to wrinkle the paper, especially if the paper is thin. A brayer is a tool you can use after you glue down your images. The brayer smooths out the glue under the images and helps to make sure all the images are laying flat. You don't need to buy a brayer though. You can also use a soda can or a rolling pin. Another option is a paper cutter. I like using a paper cutter when I need a straight line. I also use a paper cutter at the end to cut off any parts of an image that hang off the edge of my card. An alternative to a paper cutter is a cutting mat with a knife and straight edge. To protect your collage card after you finish, you can insert the collage into a plastic sleeve. You can buy Soul Collage card sleeves from Amazon. After you have your supplies, it's time to find images. There are different approaches to gathering images for a collage. If I already have an idea what I want the collage to look like, I go through my magazines looking for specific pictures. Sometimes, though, I don't know what I want on the collage. I just have this feeling inside that I'm trying to release. When this happens, I tell my brain it can go on a break, and I slowly page through the magazines, letting my heart decide what to tear out. If you're looking at your computer right now and thinking, what is she talking about? When I say letting your heart decide what to tear out, this is what I mean. Just try to let your body and mind relax. Think about a place that makes you feel calm. Take a couple deep breaths, maybe even let your eyes unfocus just a bit, and then start turning the pages of the magazine. When a picture grabs your attention, tear it out without questioning why you're tearing it out. If you find yourself remembering an image you saw a few pages back, go back and get that one. If you find yourself reading the headlines or caption boxes, now you've gone back into your brain. So if it's an article you really need to read, tear it out for later. Take a couple deep breaths and start again from your heart. I want the collage I'm making today to express the stress I've been feeling lately. I've gathered a bunch of pictures that feel like stress to me. So now I'm looking for a background that looks stressful. The background picture has the overall feeling of the collage, but it will mostly be covered up by the other images. The background image peeking through here and there helps unify the other pictures of my collage. Okay, now for the fun part, laying out the collage. Now that I have a bunch of pictures torn out of magazines, I'm going to trim the pictures. I cut close to the edge of the image so none of the background from that image is part of my collage. This careful cutting can be time-consuming, but your collage will look sloppy if you don't take the time to be careful here. Of course, if sloppy is the look you're going for, then you don't have to worry about cutting the edges carefully. When I lay the background image over the card, I don't glue it down because after I add the other images, I might want to reposition it or replace it with another background image. If the background is larger than the card, I sometimes gently fold the edges of the background picture under the card. This lets me see where the edges of the card are, but still lets me shift or replace the background picture later if I want to. Now I decide which images to use. I just start putting the images on the card and moving them around until something feels right. The weight of the pictures is something I think about. When I started making this collage, I didn't like the feel of the heaviness of the books and the lightness of the papers blowing all around. So even though both these situations would be stressful for me, it didn't feel like they went together. In fact, after rearranging the rest of my pictures, I didn't like the direction this card was going at all, so I decided to start over. One lesson I had to learn when creating a collage is not to fall in love with a work in progress. I always have to be willing to put that aside and start over. So I decided I wanted to make a card that somehow showed the stress, but also showed a way out of the stress. The pictures in this new combination feel like they have a good weight. The stressed women are all about the same size, and the women have balanced expressions of stress. No one is hysterically stressed or so subtly stressed that you can't see her stress. However, the arrangement of the pictures is unbalanced, with all the pictures grouped on the top and left. Now the arrangement of the pictures is balanced, but there's no focal point. I want to find another picture that I can use as the center of attention. Now I have a focal point. I want the woman who is calmly sitting in the middle to be the person who draws my eye. Today she's the woman I want to identify with when I look at this card. But maybe on another day when I'm too stressed to calm down, I might only see the women on the edges who are stressed. This is a good example of why I don't like using words on my cards. If I included the words stressed or calm on the card, not only would I only be able to see that part of the card, but I would also go out of my heart and back into my head, which won't help me feel what the card is showing me. Placement of the main picture in the collage isn't the only way to use a focus. Notice which direction each of the women is facing. Feel how this card feels compared with this picture. In this picture, the women on the edges are all looking away from the woman in the middle. Instead of looking at her as in the previous card, on this card, they're all ignoring her. The message I get from the first card is, when I'm stressed, if I can find that calm part of myself, it will help me deal with the stress. In this card, the message I get is, when I ignore my need to meditate and be calm, I'm going to feel stressed throughout the whole day. What I don't want is a card like this one, where the women are all looking in different directions. My eye is getting confused about what I'm supposed to be looking at. Even though the focal point woman is still in the middle, the other women seem disconnected from her in a haphazard way, and the card doesn't feel right to me. I've decided I like the feel of this card best. Do you see how the pictures extend beyond the edge of the card? Before I glue the pictures down in these positions, I want to know what the card will look like after I trim the edges, so I'm going to put a frame around the card. You can make a frame out of a piece of thick paper with a 5" by 7" rectangle cut out of the center. I place that frame over my card to make sure all the important parts of each picture are within the frame. Sometimes I have to readjust the images to make them fit better. Now for the moment you've all been waiting for, gluing the images onto the card. Everything looks great, but nothing's glued down. How are you going to get everything glued down the way you carefully laid it out when you have to take everything off to start gluing? What I do is take a picture of the card so I can remember where everything goes. I carefully slide the pictures off the card, unwrap the edges of the background picture, put glue on the card, and paste the background picture to the card. Most types of glue are very effective at their job, so you only need to use a little bit. You don't want bits of glue squeezing out from under the pictures. I lay the pictures back on the card, referring to the photo I took if I need to. Then I glue just a corner of each piece, so if I have to move it later, I'll be able to. If you've ever sewed anything, this is the equivalent to basting a seam before you sew it. Continue moving around the collage, gluing a corner of each piece. When everything is basted in place, I lift up any loose edges and glue them down. Now for the finishing touches. I use my brayer to gently roll over all the images. If I see any part of the images moving, I put a little more glue under that piece. If you have edges of the pictures hanging over the edge of the card, use a paper cutter, a knife and straight edge, or scissors to trim off those extra bits. Turn the card upside down so you can see the edge of the card. Finally, I slide my card in one of the Soul Collage plastic sleeves and seal the sleeve on the back of the card. This helps protect the collage in case any part of the images becomes unglued. I like to be able to shuffle my cards, and having the sleeves on them keeps them from getting damaged. Ta-da! You've made your first Key Collage. Congratulations! This is Kay from Key Collage. Thank you for watching my first video. Watch my website, keycollage.com, for more videos coming soon.